and welcome to the monthly Majlis of the HBS Club of GCC. Apparently we went live, but that happens on Zoom sometimes, and nobody is on mute, which is also a good sign. A casual monthly conversation you've all gotten used to, maybe on a virtual mode due to the situation. Now we're more on a hybrid format. I welcome all the guests who have started listening and watching us, and the wonderful familiar faces I have met. It's really wonderful to meet some startup founders face to face for the first time, having met them only virtually throughout the past few years. Everybody has a tremendously ambitious story to tell, whether from Abu Dhabi or the UAE as a whole. We're here to have this casual conversation to see how we can basically cement and improve this collaboration between the HBS Club of the GCC and the UAE government, how we can create more opportunities, how we can help the UAE government achieve the strategic goal, hence the title of this month's event, the Abu Dhabi New Strategy and Transformation. Without further ado, I'm sure the familiar face and the opening remarks will be given by the president of the HBS Club of the GCC, Saleh Louta. Please go ahead with a presentation and an in-depth look of the club and its achievements and goals.
Thank you very much, Jesse. First of all, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody.
I will move.
Okay. And I really would like to thank you, Your Excellencies, Abu Mansour and Badr, for hosting us in Hub 71. Abu Mansour was telling me, thank you, Saleh, for choosing Hub 71. Well, I told him it's not my call. I asked Abu Faris, please let me know where we can have a good place to host our Majlis in Abu Dhabi, which is a new norm which we'll be having, to really host our Majlis event in different part of the GCC, to really represent the GCC in a good way. So before I start my presentation, I just wanted to let you know that we have a great opportunity to create a real impact in the region. I was telling Abu Mansour, well, one of our biggest challenge is that we are from UAE. And what makes it even more challenging that we represent Harvard Business School. So we always take the expectation way higher than what people expect from us to really create the positive impact in the region. So I think we have to really be at the level of the expectation of what people expect from us. We as from UAE, we know that we've been blessed by a great government who's really putting us always ahead and always pushing us to do more and always being number one. Having these two elements, I think, gives us a great opportunity to do what I call the knowledge revolution. Yani imagine the brain power we have in this setup with our alumni, who we represent almost 1,200 alumni. Imagine this brain power. How can we leverage this brain power? And this is what I want to show you, what we are doing in the club, really to give back to the region where we are from. I think I need the help here. Before we sit with the presentation, so the idea is really to utilize the platform we have in terms of alumni, in terms of the individual who we have in our alumni, and really work in a collaborative environment through whole the GCC. So we're not talking about one region or a country or one city. The club we have represent the whole GCC. So imagine if we put all this brain power from Saudi, from UAE, from Kuwait, from Qatar, from Bahrain, into this platform and really work together to give back to the regions and utilize the brain power we have. So what I'll be talking about today, our structure of how we are setting our club, the objective, our program, which we've done already and the upcoming, and our activities in terms of the activity which has been done already. Next. Okay, so this is in terms of structure. So I think we sit in a very strong platform. So we have the honorary board, which Mansour is one of our board, which is really giving us a big help to take our mission and vision forward. Then we have the HBS board member, who I'll be introducing right now. Then we have the ExCom, then we have the committee. Then we have the back office, who's really facilitating all what we talk about. And the last thing I want that we promise and we don't deliver. So what we're saying here, we want to walk the talk. Whatever we will be committing, we will be working. And it will not be individual persons or a team. It will be a big platform. So as I said, we have 1,200 members already. How can we leverage these brains to deliver the vision? Next. So here, our honorary board, and we're really proud to have such strong board in our setup, who make our life easier whenever we call and we need help. Then we have the next to that, our board. Myself, Hala, Raja, Fayaz, Hind, Aham, Michael, Rohit, Khalid, Hisham, Walid, and Tara, all very committed and really want to contribute. Next. Then we have, as I said, the committees, the executive committees, who's working more into executing day-to-day operations. And then we have the committees. We're talking about the governance committee. So we want to make sure we have the right pilot. We are having the programs, and thanks to Hind, wallah, putting all the initiative we are having. Strategic alliance, members, treasury, marketing, and communication. Next. So as I said, we have a very strong foundation, which really can take more into their shoulder and deliver. Next. And what make it easier also, we have the country lead. So it's not like, wallah, we will manage it from UAE. No. We have Suleiman, who's representing Oman. We have Taha, who's representing Qatar. We have Khalid, who's representing Saudi. Basma, Kuwait, Mohamed, Bahrain, Hala, and Ahmed, helping us to reach the other global clubs of Harvard globally, to make sure that whatever initiatives we are doing, whatever program we are executing, we have more muscles beyond what we have in the UAE, plus the sector lead. We don't want it to become a general event in whatever we want to do. If I am in real estate, I want to talk deep about real estate. If I'm talking about fintech, we want to talk deep about fintech. If I'm talking about FMCG, if we talk about retail, we want really to add value to the individual who is part of this ecosystem. Next. Am I okay with time? Huh? طيب. The main objective is to move from UAE to GCC, so we're not talking UAE anymore. I think the more the merrier. We want to bring people with us. Sponsorship to partnership. It's not about, well, how many sponsors we have. How can we create a proper sponsor, governmental-wise and private sector-wise? We're talking about a long-term partnership. Participating in event compared to initiating and driving. Before we call people to come and participate in any of our events. We don't want this anymore. We want people who will participate, they make a say, they suggest, they become in the making than just coming, sitting, networking, and leaving. We want to get this value added from every member from the alumni. Next. I say it in a very small word, spill the good we have in our region. Experience, knowledge, network, all these good things we have, we want to distribute it among my communities, among my people who I'm surrounded with, region-wise. I think we have great things to give back to the region. And by really leveraging this brain power we have, we will create the best impact in the region. And this is what we are looking for, that really spill out the good we have. Next. So these are our main programs. Think tank. It's about really addressing the transformation happening in the GCC. We know that the GCC is going through a big transformation in each of the country in the region. So we are working with Harvard Publishing to really address this change and make sure that we help government to go through this transformation faster and in a good way. Majlis is, we commit high. We said that we will be having a monthly Majlis event like what we are having here. This will require a brainstorming, who will be the speaker, this will require where will we do it, and will require all the back office job need to be done. And we are committed to do it, not only in UAE, Saudi, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman. We want this change to be impactful in all of these countries. And we want to lead it as a Harvard Business School of the GCC. Before I come to Crossroads, Shine, we came up with a plan where we want to really identify the stars in the early ages. Not as an entrepreneurial, we're talking about the age from 14 to 18 to identify these stars in the country and give them a special program to really fuel this individual by giving him the right training, the right mentorship, right networking. A drive is which I think we have to give back to our government, to our region. By having this kind of network, this kind of a brain power, how can we help government to decide? It's not about imposing, but this kind of setting, hearing from what the public sector is doing, really using the brain we have in our region, and especially here in UAE. I was telling Abu Mansour that the magic stick which we have in the UAE is that we have more than 200 nationalities live in this country in harmony. This is, you don't find it anywhere. Very difficult to create this kind of mindset, this kind of culture. Most of the people who lives here feel that this is their home, feel that this is their country. They want to give back. But our job is to open the door for them and leverage their brain power. So this is about the drive of what we wanted to do. Crossroad is the big event we have it yearly. We didn't do it last year because of COVID, but now, mashallah, we're coming with a great, and I think it will be one of the most impactful event in the GCC. We will come, we don't have the time to describe what we'll be doing, but soon, in the coming week, you will be hearing about the whole event we'll be having. Next. So this is just to give you a snapshot of what we've done in the Majlis. We're planning to do the next one in Oman. The following one will be done in Riyadh, we said, in May, inshallah. In May, inshallah. Next. This is the think tank, which we've done already in Saudi. We will be having our upcoming event with Her Excellency, Mariam Al-Mheri, which will be a very big subject which we need to address because we are committing by 2050 to be zero. So this is what we are doing in terms of think tank. Next. This is Shine, which I explained for you. This is from 14 to 18 years old, of how can we really mentor, coach, identify these stars who we have in our countries, and drive it to support, facilitate, and guide government initiative through HBS, GCC alumni. Next. This is the Crossroad. It will be 2 days. I don't want to give you all the details, but inshallah soon, by next week, you will be having the whole information. Next. This is also about the upcoming programs in January 18th, 17th, so it will be next Monday. So if you see, we have a lot of activities. But to tell you the truth, what make it easy, because we have you. Because we have more than 1,200 alumni who's hungry, who want to contribute, so we are distributing the load among all of us. And again, I want to encourage each one of you, whoever want to participate, want to contribute in any of these initiatives, he will be more than welcome. Next. Think tank, this is, as I said, the event we'll be having the 27th. So it's after 10 days of our Hilal al-Marri's event, which will be about integrating an integrated approach to sustainable growth in the UAE. Next. This is our last network night on the 24th of November, after they opened little bit the doors after COVID, after 2 years. So it was an event where everybody was really hungry to see each other. We will see more of this. One thing I want to say is that we don't want COVID to stop us from progressing. COVID is here to stay. So as I was telling Wahid, where is Wahid? Okay, he will be somewhere. He's over there. Wahid was telling me, Salih, until the last minute, wallah, people are not coming. People are driving. They don't want to come physical. I told him, wallah, if it's only me and you, we will come. And we will conduct it. So if there is difficulties to do it physically, we can't do it virtually. And the most important thing, it's not about the quantity, it's the quality. It's the content of what we discuss, it's the seriousness of the subject we are talking about, and the people who are really brainstorming and working in this event. Next. This is about our last activity with more than capital I was telling you about previously. Next. This is something which I see very important, and you will see more of this. We've done our hiking event last month. Wallah, it was great. The people who participated, Ahmed promised that he will come. He did not come, but he promised the next one he will come. So what I felt that having these kind of social activities really break the ice. It gets you to know the other individual as a human more than his corporate life. And this is what you will see more of in terms of creating this kind of event and social activity. I see it more impactful than gala dinner. I see it more impactful than business lunch and all the other activities. So you will see more in my term of this activity. Next. These are the new teams which we are working and creating. MashaAllah, cycling now it's becoming very popular. So we will create also a team for cycling, and this activity will be more. Golf, I don't play golf, but waiting to see the team and to get trained to do it. This is, I think, next. So as I said, one hand cannot clap. It's about how can we contribute. And to tell you the truth, it's not about really taking all your time. It's little by little, because we have big number of alumni. If we distribute the load, I think we can create magic. Thank you very much, all.
Thank you, Salih. You always have your sleeves rolled up. You make it very easy for everyone to get involved. If they don't, there's a problem after everything that you do. I'm going to start you with a very brief story that caught my attention. Last year, I was doing a very regular grocery shopping, and I hate grocery shopping. I find it such a waste of my time. A lot of the ladies might agree with me, you know our pain. Anyways, I'm walking down the aisle, and a very unusual box of cherry tomatoes, shiny red cherry tomatoes, catches my attention. I grab the box, and I smile. I'm staring at the box, and I'm smiling, and people are walking around, what's wrong with this lady? Why is she smiling at the box of tomatoes? And it lifted me up. I felt so proud. No, I did not make the tomatoes myself. I had interviewed the founder of that UAE-grown brand only 5 years ago as a journalist. I had gone to TechCrunch, first regional competition attracting the most brilliant minds across the Middle East. And I stood there as a Sky News Arabia journalist back then, interviewing the two founders, and they were telling me that how they're still pitching the idea, they're catching the attention of investors, and they're finding it a little bit difficult along the way to explain how they're going to grow tomatoes in the desert, in a controlled area where they control the rain, the temperature, the sun, the wind. And here it was, 5 years later, after my interview with them, I was holding the box. Needless to say, I bought the box, I went home, tried it, it was really good, took a photo, sent it to the founder, who was somewhere in East Asia, still growing the business, and we reconnected and did another interview for Forbes Middle East just recently, a few months down the road. Why am I telling you the story about tomatoes? Because this is just one of the many, many, many brilliant startup stories that I hear and see and get the chance to experience in the UAE. I myself have the pleasure to call Abu Dhabi home for the past 10 years, having started as a journalist and evolving now to the small business owner of media consulting. I now see as well very familiar faces of startup founders. So here we are in this session where we're going to delve more into what the UAE is doing and continues to be doing to attract talents and top minds from across the world, and how it plans to sustain this attraction and continue to be in the hub and in the midst of this fantastic digital transformation happening in the region. Now to answer all these tough questions is His Excellency Mohamed Ali Al Shorafa. I honestly did not know which title to choose. You have so many, so I ended up with the top 3. Of course, you all know him, familiar face and a familiar name, and the member of the Abu Dhabi Executive Council, chairman of the Abu Dhabi Department of Economic Development, and vice chairman of ADGM, just to mention a few. Please welcome as we go on with some of the questions. I had set up the typical questions that most of the members would want to know regarding the incentives, the new strategy, how do you plan on doing it? Then I went in depth into your bio, and honestly, the first question I want to ask you is, how do you deal with stress? No kidding.
Tell me about it.
Not to mention your role, your major role in audio.
Yes, well, first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you, HBS, for having me here, and thank you, Hub 71. And I think it was a great idea to have this session in Hub 71, which tells you a lot about
where we are,
in terms of the entrepreneurship and the talents and the different opportunities and challenges we are trying to solve for entrepreneurs in Abu Dhabi. Well, it's now 2 years and a couple of months being a public servant, and it's a privilege, obviously, to be serving Abu Dhabi leadership and also understanding our leaders' vision and their aspirations.
It's tough, it's ambitious,
See,
very
I'm
ambitious.
telling you that and I'm getting goosebumps.
Yes.
Aspirations are humongous, and the challenges that we see and they see are all within our reach to resolve. We're not talking about rocket science, but everybody coming together. I think the whole aim of finding solutions and creating challenges into opportunities and finding ways to resolve these for people like you and me, all right, is what kept me going, because I understand what leadership wants. Stress, we all have to go through it, but when you try to balance between what the achievements that you are going to see physically on ground compared to the stress that we are having, I think our leadership have more stress than us, because they believe that we are all under their umbrella. They have to take care of us, and they are entrusted people like me, like Badr and my colleagues, to try to find solutions and to embrace the vision that they have to be on the ground to resolve all these issues.
It's certainly an ambitious vision. It is also, it's no luck, it's not out of luck that every single year the UAE tops the list of the #1 country that most Arab youth wish to live and work in. I'm going to deviate slightly from the script, but I tend to do that if you know me a little bit. You said it's not rocket science. Yet again, the UAE, from space exploration to agri-tech, to healthcare, to the vaccination drive recently that has happened, what can I say, to arts, to entertainment, media, what would you say would be the top priority right now in executing the UAE's, shall we call it new strategy, new vision, or transformation?
See, you said it's not rocket science, and I said that as well. But rocket science without a vision, you cannot deliver that. That's one. Two, I think delivering on these strategies are the most, everybody can write strategies, everybody can put things together, but are they real strategies that you can actually see on the ground or no? Can you develop them? Can you deliver them? If yes, this is where the vision is going to be realized. You mentioned a lot of different sectors. We moved away from sectors to try to strategize along the way of clustering. And clustering, it has been proven in a lot of different countries, in Southeast Asia, in Europe, that you try to develop the ecosystem properly, try to let the government develop that cluster, and then nudge the private sector to come and invest and continue developing the downstream or the midstream and downstream of those different clusters. Agriculture technology. It's not, we were developing ag tech probably a couple of years before COVID. Yes, it helped us a lot during COVID when supply chain was disrupted. The cherry tomato that you loved a year ago, it's a company that was supported by Abu Dhabi government, Pure Harvest. They are doing extremely well, they are expanding, and they're also part of Abu Dhabi Investment Office program and Hub 71 as well. Agri-tech, fintech. Fintech is also another area that Abu Dhabi and UAE is not introducing as a new cluster, no. We've been working on it. You're seeing already things on ground that people are using a lot of financial technology. A lot of companies are being attracted here. Media and communication. We have my colleague here, Eli from Anghami, as the founder of Anghami, also tells you a lot what Abu Dhabi is putting together. Why I'm saying it's not rocket science, because you either try to have a competitive environment and diversify your economy. When I say competitive environment, people think about how cheap I can open my company. How cheap is the licensing? It's not that. Yes, that's part of it. But competitiveness is how can I attract talents to founders and entrepreneurs to come here to Abu Dhabi. Competitive means how can my livability be competitive? I don't want Abu Dhabi to be an expensive city. Again, to attract people, to attract talents, to attract founders. How can I use the ecosystem within Abu Dhabi and the federal UAE to help companies develop their business and, with a big and, make Abu Dhabi as their springboard to the rest of the region? They have to come, let's say, experimenting. In fintech, for example, there's a lot of companies that are coming with new ideas. They don't have the right environment to regulate them. Even though they are still testing it, we created our fintech sandbox. And Abu Dhabi Global Markets have started that before anybody in the region by having their own sandbox. Now we're developing an NFT sandbox as well. So we're trying to pioneer, but pioneering all of this, you need to have the vision, you need to have the regulation, you need to have the power and empowerment. Also, another important word, empowerment to make those changes. Again, we get all this energy from who? From our leadership, because our leadership want to make a real change on the ground. When we talk about diversification, yes, Abu Dhabi is a hydrocarbon economy. As our leadership in Abu Dhabi have said, after a period of time, we have to move away from our oil revenues, so we have to diversify now. To diversify now, we are going to use the revenues from our oil and gas to start looking at different clusters that we have to be pioneering in. Healthcare and biopharma. And we're working with a lot of government-related entities and private sector in Abu Dhabi by attracting and facilitating and providing programs to attract biopharma and new technologies within that healthcare cluster. We're talking about aviation industries, agriculture technology, financial technology, specialty tourism, hydrocarbons and the downstream. We're not talking about your typical conventional hydrocarbons. There's a lot of things that we're still doing in the hydrocarbons business that are not related to our refining business. So we have to diversify. But the only way to develop Abu Dhabi economic is through private sector. Abu Dhabi puts the foundation, Abu Dhabi puts the right regulations. We've changed it since we took advantage of COVID, to be honest with you, and the lockdown by continuing with complete policy reforms, introduce new laws, and you've already seen it. For example, the Golden Visa, yes, it's a federal program, but Abu Dhabi and Dubai have played a big role in working with the federal government in introducing the Golden Visa program. A lot of different programs now are being changed. The SPACs, laws and regulations, the different asset classes that are going to be introduced. Again, financial services is a very important. We all have to work together. Again, competitiveness and diversification. But you need to have the will to make those changes.
I have 1,000,001 follow-up. NFT, that's a big one. Talent development, attracting talent, that's also a big one. Care to share a little bit more on the NFT, or shall we move on to the talent? I'm sure everyone's interested to know more.
No, it's still at its infancy. But the idea is, how can Abu Dhabi, through its different ecosystem players, either government-related entities or regulatory authorities in Abu Dhabi, working hand in hand with the federal government to put framework for new assets that are coming worldwide, and everybody's talking about it. It's a hype, it's not a hype, it's regulated or not regulated. How can I put the proper framework for those to attract those companies and founders and minds, again, attracting minds to come and use that ecosystem so that they can easily make business out of it?
How?
I will not tell you how.
You're asking, I want you to answer.
No, we are putting that framework now, I'll be honest with you. But there are, like what I told you, the NFT sandbox. But there's also rules and regulations. I'll give you another example. Crypto assets, digital assets. Digital assets, Abu Dhabi Global Market have pioneered the policies and regulations and regulating those type of assets before anybody else in the Middle East. Why? And that's why we're attracting, and we are not also accepting companies that we feel are going to reduce their credibility by not using our regulations. So we have to give that credibility to the system. And by giving that credibility to the system, you're going to attract credible investors as founders. And you're also going to attract for them customers for their business as well.
Okay, you mentioned talent. I know several of my friends who are in the midst of launching their startups, also here through Hub 71. And several of them tell me that the biggest challenge they face is not financing per se, which is what I thought they would say. It's actually attracting the right talent. Now the UAE has done so much to offer incentives and has succeeded in attracting. But what would you say, how are you going to sustain that? What more support does the UAE need to continue attracting the most brilliant minds and become a hub really in several sectors?
See, talent comes into two ways. You have your local talent and your international talent. And we have to develop both, to be honest with you. And one of the big programs that hopefully will be announced by end of this month is the Lifelong Learning Project. And this is a project which is very close to our leadership, and it will upskill and reskill UAE nationals across the board. That either they are in the private sector or they are in the government entities as well. We cannot stop, the world is changing, okay? Either from knowledge or education or things that we see around us. We cannot, if you're an accountant, you cannot just stay all your life as an accountant. You either move up the ladder or you change your domain. And we came up with a huge program, and Harvard is actually part of that program as well, for reskilling and upskilling existing nationals and talents. We are going to open that later to the non-nationals that are living in Abu Dhabi and the United Arab Emirates. But attracting talents as well from outside is very important, because obviously we are, still there are some skills that are not available within the UAE, but we developed Ecole 42, for example. It's the biggest coding company, coding school in the world. We have a big facility for them here in Abu Dhabi, and we have over than 1,200 students that are undergoing that program. And a lot of the companies and founders within Hub 71 are already using and employing people from that are graduated from Ecole 42. We're also doing different programs in terms of attracting those. Golden Visa is one of them. So Golden Visa, and there are new changes that are going to be introduced to the Golden Visa again in the next couple of months. No,
which you obviously are not going to tell us.
I'm not going to tell you what.
You're just going to tease it, but you won't.
Well, it's not my domain, so I'm not going to talk about it. It's more of a federal, but we all work together as one team and we give our inputs. But it's going to be more attractive even to attract more people. We're not going also to talk about, okay, we have zero tax. That's not the issue, but again, I'll come back to you to the first thing I was talking about, livability. Again, it's not by making housing cheaper. No, it's about how can I integrate those people to make Abu Dhabi for them or the UAE for them as their home. It's not for them just to come and work and come and live or raise family. No, I want them to retire here. I want them this to be their home. We are the law within the United Arab Emirates is for everybody. It's for your nationals and non-nationals. We are all the same. And that's why we want people to believe that they are actually living and retiring and raising a family here in Abu Dhabi and the United Arab Emirates as their home. So we had to change a lot of things in the civil law, for example, which you've heard recently. So all of this did not come haphazardly. We had a plan on it. We are working locally. We're working with the federal government, and it's going to be introduced or have been already announced. And there are a lot of things coming as well to make it attractive for those people to get them here in this country. Again, founders. How can I attract people like Eli? How can I attract people like your friend who started her company in Hub 71? How can I attract them to start business here? Use the community that we have similar to Hub 71. Use the ecosystem that Abu Dhabi has. Use the government-related entities, because incentives are not only financial. Incentives are also non-financial. And I think a lot of those founders and talents that want to come to Abu Dhabi are always looking for non-financial incentives.
Okay, خلص enough about expats. We focused on expats. I want to talk about a little bit more details, if you can give us, on how you mentioned upskilling local talents, which is known more in the media as Emiratization. What are you adding to Emiratization? Is it, and how do you measure whether it's succeeding or not? Is it by numbers simply? Is it by quotas? There are issues, there are challenges when it comes to upskilling locals and finding them the right opportunities. Can you give us maybe more details on what should they look forward to in this year?
First of all, it's a mindset as well.
Yeah.
That's one. Two, we work very close with NAFIS, which is the federal program, which is an Emiratization program. But Abu Dhabi also have its own program, like the lifelong learning program, which is developed through different government entities led by Department of Economic Development, because we believe it is an economic pillar to upskill and reskill those people in Abu Dhabi.
This is new as well. I
Yes.
haven't heard details about it.
That's the scoop
Yeah,
that you wanted.
yeah,
So
there,
here
thank
you go.
He promised a scoop and he delivered.
Yes. But the details obviously will be coming by the end of
Yes.
the month, inshallah. If we balance, let's think about it in a different way. Why nationals are always looking to work in the government rather than the private sector? Maybe the pay, maybe
the hours,
working hours, the leaves. So what's the solution? Is either you compensate that or you make them all the same.
balance.
That's one. Two, have the right human resource laws for nationals that are similar to the non-nationals. Again, we want to be completely equal to everybody so that we can attract talents. There's a lot of amazing UAE national talents that I'm working with, a lot of my colleagues are working with, and some of them I can't attract them because they're expensive. Why? Because they are working in other private companies, because they are really delivering what's required from them. So laws are going to change. Programs like NAFIS, similar to NAFIS, will be in Abu Dhabi, but people have to start building on their knowledge. You have to start from the bottom. We all started from the bottom. All my colleagues, we started from the bottom. I was a trainee for 1 year when I started my first job in Adia in 1993.
Did they pay you?
They paid me, but if you know what they paid me, it was completely nothing to what any...
I hear a lot from trainees, how they work without pay.
It was a school. I learned a lot. And this is where people need to have that mindset of gaining knowledge. You need to... It's only scratching the surface. You need to really get into a lot of things to understand. It's not, we were not all born with a golden spoon.
Okay, I want to stay on this a little bit. A lot of people, and I'm one of them, don't know a lot from your story, your personal story. You're a young leader, you're also an alumnus. of the club of HBS. What would you say to those who find themselves maybe just a few years before than where you are now? How do or should young leaders in the UAE leverage and actually execute what you are talking about away from the main fanfare of the media and the big events and all of that? What is at the crux of it? You did say it's a mindset, but what would you tell them? You are really, they look up to you.
First of all, you're absolutely right. This mindset, that's number one. Number two, I think you need to consult. If you don't know something, ask. Networking like this will always give you a way out. Somebody will give you an idea that you haven't thought of, but you have to be persistent. Before we came on the air now with you and my colleagues here, one of the founders in Hub 71 came to me and he told me, thank you, Hub 71 helped me in doing this, and I was really happy for him, and you can see the bling in his eyes. But if you see what this guy went through, it's persistent. I told him, you succeeded because you persisted. It's not that you're sitting behind the desk, not doing anything. No, you tried a door, it was closed. You tried another one, you tried another one, until he succeeded. And I'm very proud to see, he's a UAE national. He left his government job, and he's been here in Hub 71 for a couple of years, and he succeeded. Persistence is very important, but you have to have, again, a vision. People always think the government will always help you. Yes, the government will help you. The government will support you. The government will give you the levers to help you. But you have to move yourself. It's not just sitting on a desk and you'll find everything is incredible in front of you. Before coming to the government, yes, I was in the private sector. I got my hands burnt. I fell. I stood up again. And when I went to Harvard, I was in the private sector. It was a knowledge for me.
Why do you say I got my hands burnt?
No, you're never going to learn unless you fall. You have to fall. It's normal, part and parcel of the cycle of life. You will never learn. Even now, sometimes I get my fingers burnt. Yes, I did a mistake, but halas, I have to move on. Persistence is very important. People need to use their network, needs the network around them. They need to use platforms so that they can not upskill or use the knowledge of other people that they could look up to. I always have sessions with the SMEs at the Department of Economic Development and try to understand what are the problems.
What do they tell you? Mostly licensing issues.
Okay. I'll be honest with you. This was a couple of years ago. And without me listening to them, I wouldn't have understood what's the problem. And that's why we made it very frequent for us to sit with different type of organizations and entities, either SMEs or micro businesses or even big corporates. But big corporates have some issues. But again, it's important to have the right team with you so that you can deliver what you are supposed to do. So it's a mindset, it's perseverance, okay? And you have to
reach out and ask. Okay, you're in a pretty unique situation or pretty unique position where you're wearing several hats. So from your hat as a UAE leader and from your hat as an alumnus at HBS, what sort of collaboration would you like to see so that the UAE government can make use of this wonderful pool of talents and brilliant minds that you have, and where in turn the club can also make use of opportunities in achieving
I'll be honest with you, I will abuse this relation.
Go ahead.
Saleh, this relationship is not only because I like HBS, and I think the dynamism of the board and the honorary board also adds that
value,
flavor and value that we can make use of Harvard. I know a lot of my colleagues have attended Harvard, either in the School of Government or the HBS as a business school. But as a government, I think we always need to reach out to audience, either members of HBS or Harvard Business School itself, to understand from them what are the new trends in the markets, what are the new economic psychology, organizational development, all of that. And I've learned a lot from my time at Harvard. Yes, I'm also an alumni of another, of LBS, but the value that I saw from Harvard is also something that the government, and I think there is already some sort of collaboration between Abu Dhabi government and Harvard Business School. But I think I need to, with my position at the club and the relationship that we have, I think we can even do more. The other way around, I think Harvard, and not only using the different ecosystem of Abu Dhabi to host these facilities, but I think we can be your voice as well. We want to understand what's the problems that Harvard Business School alumni are facing, or new ideas that they want to develop, or whatever comes, they want to develop they think a law that needs to change, a policy that needs to change. We are as open as that. So I think we have to be as fluid between each other.
Unscripted, what did you learn from Harvard that you didn't know before? You said you learned a lot and you've attended several different colleges. What would you say was the top lesson you learned there? Something unexpected, out of the textbooks.
Other than the networking?
Yeah.
Okay, and a lot of people go to Ivy schools for networking.
Yeah.
But I think teamwork. We used to, I see everybody's laughing here and smiling. We used to stay all night just to get things done. And if somebody falls, the other would come and support them. It's teamwork.
All right. I know we want to leave a little bit of time for Q&A. Hopefully we'll get questions. Do tell. Now I need you, Saleh, to let me know on my time. I tend to digress time-wise. Maybe I'll fit 1 or 2 questions and then we'll take questions. I think we talked about both collaboration on both sides. I guess the final question maybe, this vision that you're mentioning, and you say it has to be, it has to come from a change of a mindset first, and then they have to reach out and upskill and do all of that stuff. But practically speaking, we're talking about laws and rules and regulations and setups and infrastructure and things that take a lot of time to change. When it comes from this bottom up, and top down change, again, where should the start be when it comes to young leaders? Where should they start with that change? Because the leaders I got the chance to interview, the young leaders, the new generation of leaders, do have a certain room to express and discuss and maybe put some plans for change, but they do hit a wall, a lot of walls, and that applies to public and private sector. This wall says we do it this way because it's always been done that way. So both business and private, how do you overcome that?
No, I think in Abu Dhabi it's completely different. Our leadership gives us the space to actually speak our mind. And yes, we know the direction. In terms of execution, we come and tell them, okay, we feel this is the best way to do it, and why? And what are the risks if we do it this way? So we always have to identify what are the risks if we do it this way. Again, it comes from the leadership. If the leadership doesn't give you that space, there is an issue. But alhamdulillah, Allah yatawwal fi a'mar al-shuyukh, they give us that space to speak our mind structurally and try to deliver what we feel right, but we have to also have the bells and whistles that comes with it as well. So we understand that we are going on the right track. So there are KPIs that we have to look at, timelines, because it's like a chain. So I have to do something before doing this, but sometimes the problem is very deep, and sometimes we have to go very deep to try to resolve these issues. So again, I think it's having the space that you can speak your mind.
I promise this is the last question, because you mentioned KPIs, and we had this brief discussion of how do you measure success. So this is the last question, then it's all yours. How do you measure the success when it comes to UAE's transformation? Would you say you are where you think you want it to be in 2022? Do you have a milestone in this coming year that you want to share?
To be honest with you, obviously, any country will always look at its GDP. But GDP is one of the factors that we look at. It's not the determinant factor of our success. So we have a multiple of KPIs that we look at. Not only from the different rankings that we talked later before we came on live, but again, if the people here in Abu Dhabi are happy, businesses are growing, consumption is happening, GDP is growing, inflation is controlled, attracting more people, this is where the success is. And if, again, we will never understand success through numbers only. Numbers are important. But if we don't have our ears as close as possible to the people that are living in Abu Dhabi or the business community, and to be honest with you, the business community in Abu Dhabi, and this is an attractive thing in Abu Dhabi, that they are very close to the leadership. Any issues that they feel, they can raise it up. Any problems that leadership feels from them are easily resolved. And I think this is where the success will be coming from.
Right, I know you have a lot more questions. You're also in the field. Shall we take a couple maybe? Do we have time for one or two questions? I know you had one. I left it for you, that question. Is it on?
Yeah, yes, it's working. Thank you, Jessie, Your Excellency. You and I were chatting actually before we started this session. I'm going to bounce off of your last question, and I have another one for you. As you're speaking about challenges, I'm thinking fail fast and challenger mindset. When do we get to a place, whether it's in Abu Dhabi in this transformation that we're experiencing, or the transformations that you're spearheading and advising on across the various roles that you play, when do you think that we shift that mindset? Right now, it sounds like a nurturing and enablement mindset that we're trying to build for. But we know that upping the ante, taking it to the next step, is when we say we fail fast, because constantly addressing challenges actually means growth. If we come to work every day and everything looks good, that means we're not evolving at the rate that we want to. And that means we haven't become a challenge, we haven't embraced a challenger mindset. What's missing in this equation, or when does that sort of era come upon us?
I was talking about challenges with Eli also an hour ago. If there is no challenge, I don't think anybody will grow or develop, as you put it yourself. There will always be challenges. If everything is blooming, everything is going in the right direction, there is no job for anybody of us. Everything is nice, everybody's going to succeed. No, life is not like that. We have to be realistic. We will have the ups and downs. We will continue coming up with new regulation because somebody came up with a new idea that can be marketed left and right over the web. So we have to look at these things as well. It's an ongoing thing. If you don't have any challenge every day, I think there is something wrong. If we are not resolving an issue, there is something wrong. You need to look back and see if you're doing something wrong.
Are you comfortable with sharing a most recent challenge, something that was difficult for you to overcome?
Again, challenges are opportunities. And I like challenges. If I'm not challenged or I don't find a problem that I want to resolve, again, I find myself, there is something wrong. But I think personalities. I think when you deal with different character of people and try to align them on one single direction, this is where the challenge is. And it's not about being diplomatic. It's about understanding the point of view of both parties that you're trying to align, and then letting them understand each other's point of view. Because I think problems are raised because the misunderstanding between each other. Obviously, everybody might have a different objective. But if we are coming from a place that we are aligned on our objectives, the execution should be simple. If I know where I'm going to reach, how I'm going to reach there should be simple because it should be the easiest and safest way to reach. But I think it's always how to align those different ideas.
Yeah, patience, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it's about planting seeds and waiting for them to come to fruition on personalities.
Sometimes you have to be very adamant and it is what it is. And sometimes, most of the time, and better to be honest with you, bring everybody around you for that.
I'm going to ask one more question and hand over the mic to the rest of the alums.
Please, please let me give. Please have a sip of water. You must be
لا
starched.
بالعكس.
I mean, I want to give you a minute to like breathe because we're bombarding you with questions. And thank you so much. Thank you. Saleh, I see that question dancing around on top of your head. Just ask it away. Don't just do it. I would do it.
And I think in the people who's watching us virtually have so many questions.
Shall
So
we take in some?
I think let us take and leave
Yeah.
me the last.
Okay. Okay, I sent a message so they can channel them through to me. They're going to filter the questions now, and once I receive it, I'll tell you. But you go ahead until I get that. Yeah.
For me, Abu Mansour, most of the people complain that government is competing with the private sector, either here or in Dubai, and this is what we hear always. What do you have to say?
I've heard that. There are things that we've already changed in Abu Dhabi. There are industries that the private sector will never get into. And there are industries that we are nudging the private sector to get into as a government. And we're moving some of them from the government-related entities to even listing them. Yani alhamdulillah, now Abu Dhabi stock market cap is about 1.6 trillion within a year and a half. And that's because we privatized a lot of government companies to be accessible for private sector. Not only that, we're also trying to attract the private sector to use some of the programs for them to monetize their investment, like the new IPO fund that was launched by the Supreme Council in Abu Dhabi to attract private sector either for IPO or restructuring them and advising them to take them public as well. That sentiment will always be there. We reduce the free float for some of the listed companies that are majority owned by the government. So it has more accessibility to the private sector to own more shares on those companies. Another company that was created called Ta'ziz, and Ta'ziz is a joint venture between ADNOC and ADQ that invested with the private sector to develop the downstream of the petrochemical in Abu Dhabi. So we're actually collaborating with the private sector rather than competing with the private sector. Again, as I mentioned at the beginning, yes, there are some industries that needs the public sector to start a nudge and then turn it to the private sector. But again, the direction from the government, the private sector is the sole developer of our economy in Abu Dhabi.
Thank you.
Right, there's so many questions. Obviously, we can't go through them. I'm going to try to sift through really quickly. I'll choose the most interesting. Maybe we'll take two, and I'm sure you can continue the conversation later on. Here's a question for you. I have a question for His Excellency. How does he see the attractiveness and sustainability in HC investment with semi-government investment in UAE? And maybe how does this align with the bigger picture of the UAE's plans to attract and sustain investment in HC? Healthcare.
Healthcare.
I love how the only workers and MDs use HC as an acronym for healthcare, but here you go.
Can you repeat the question again? I was trying to figure out what's HC, to be honest with you.
Me too, I was hoping you would tell me. So he's a doctor, that's right. Dr. Ihab, thank you for the text for the HC. Well, I'm a non-HC worker, so I wouldn't know. He's asking, how do you see the attractiveness and sustainability in healthcare investment with semi-government investment in UAE? Even the question is complicated. And how does this align with the bigger picture of the UAE to attract and sustain the investment in the healthcare industry?
Investment in healthcare, I think as everybody worldwide knows what United Arab Emirates have been performing during COVID.
Specifically last year,
specifically within the healthcare sector, alhamdulillah, and it attracted a lot of talents and technologies and even...
and international praise.
Alhamdulillah, Allahumma lak alhamd. And this is again leadership vision. Prior to that, Abu Dhabi government have put together a complete, again, private sector developed healthcare economy in Abu Dhabi. When you look at Abu Dhabi, our healthcare, yes, you have the public, which is Sahha, and you have a lot of other private healthcare players. We've attracted new technologies. Mubadala have been also developing healthcare that not competing with the private sector, but also attracting talents, technologies. My previous life was in healthcare investments. And so I can give you a very precise answer on that question. Healthcare, if you are going to develop healthcare similar to the rest of the players in the market, you're not going to succeed. For one simple reason. Everybody's doing what you want to do. If you want to open another dental clinic similar to the one next door, so what? If you come up with a new technology, with a new program, with a new major player in the market, this is where the government will come and support you.
So you're looking for innovation,
yes,
clearly.
Absolutely.
To do things differently. Okay, I'm sifting as we go. This is live sifting. Why are you sending me? Oh, they're sending me screenshots of the actual. Hello, everyone, of the actual participants. Competition. Okay, here's a quick question. About competition between SOEs, guys, with the acronyms, okay,
government-related,
good,
yeah.
and the private sector occurs in several countries. And the question says, over 50 countries and jurisdictions include SOEs in competition and antitrust legislation in order to maneuver. One possible UAE-specific intervention may be to amend, or maybe this is a suggestion, the 2012 federal competition law accordingly, i.e. to remove the, okay, this is a complicated legal question, in order to maintain the level playing field. Your question is cut off. So if you don't hear me ask your question, I will make sure I will pass it on, just because I'm trying to sift all of it. Okay, here's a question on the space technology. What is Abu Dhabi's strategy to further promote? You want more promotion of the space technology sector? He says, I run a space tech business out of India and the US, and I'm looking to expand to the Middle East with Abu Dhabi as a base. Interesting. That's just my opinion. And I'm an ex-Mubadala and Master. Any plans to further promote space technology sector for business?
One of the companies that also housed in Hub 71 and supported by Abu Dhabi Investment Office is NanoRax. NanoRax is also working with NASA on a lot of different programs within the space sector. So we're happy to support him, provided it's again innovation and this strategic direction for Abu Dhabi.
A lot of questions on legislation. Do you anticipate bankruptcy laws and regulations to be amended / changed coming in the UAE?
It was amended
recently.
A few months ago, 6 months ago, completely. The bankruptcy law completely, Chapter 11.
A lot of legislative question, you guys. Okay, what is the plan? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, and Your Excellency, excellent discussion and very inspiring conversation as always. Given that you're focusing on the economy, and given the UAE being the leader in transformation, whether it's cultural, political, technology, across the whole region, I see there is a huge opportunity for the UAE to lead transformation even at a global level. And given the new technologies evolving, whether it's the metaverse, the NFTs, and really getting away from the physical limitation of space around the world, where do you see the transformation in the economy in particular, given all of these technology advancements around us?
We came up with a virtual license as Abu Dhabi. And this, we launched that, if I'm not mistaken, about 8 to 7 months ago. You can be in New York, you have a virtual license in Abu Dhabi, and you can use the ecosystem of Abu Dhabi to develop your business, grow your business while you are in the United States. So again, physicality is not an issue now because again, COVID made us think a little bit differently, and technologies that have been embraced now makes it much easier. The ecosystem which is built and being built can be used by everybody in the United Arab Emirates and outside of the United Arab Emirates. So we are actually embracing that mindset.
Okay, for one last question, we're gonna do this as a try for our online users. We're going to try and put one of them up because they really want to ask you a question. I hope it's a good question. Make it good so I don't look bad, okay? We're going to try and put one participant up. They're going to set it up as we speak now to ask you maybe a final question if we haven't intruded too much on your time. You tell us when you're done, you just say, I'm done. And there's a lot of participants, thank you. They're sending, all of them are sending the waves, the classical Zoom waves to you guys. I will pass it on to His Excellency when we finish. I think all of the questions on the legislation have been passed, and I'll try to see, there was one more regarding on the SMEs. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, one more until we set up the gentleman. Tell me which country he's coming from, if you know. Go ahead.
Your Excellency, I think you touched upon SPACs. Can you maybe shed more light on what's the plan on SPACs? And one more thing also, one important thing that would help maybe the expat community to retire in the UAE would be a safety net, like a pension scheme. Are there any plans to introduce such scheme for non-UAE nationals?
Let me answer your last question first. Abu Dhabi created an entity called Abu Dhabi Residence Office, ADRO. And ADRO is entrusted to be the residents' voice in Abu Dhabi, not only being the front end of the Golden Visa program in Abu Dhabi government, but also be within the community, understanding what are issues that the communities are facing so that we can resolve them. One of those issues were the pension schemes. And we're actually putting something together so far, similar to international standards. Yeah.
Scoop number 2.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
No, right? Was that scoop number?
We're just kind of studying it.
Okay.
We're putting
looking
it together.
Looking into it. It's a scoop, بلاش بي. Scoop, بلا البي. It's a scoop.
The first question was about SPACs. Thank you, Vedder. The SPACs law have been introduced in the new commercial law that was issued by the federal government. Yeah, and this was developed by ESCA, Security Commodity Authority, and Department of Economic Development, and other representatives from the Dubai government as well. And alhamdulillah, it is international standards. We included, as I mentioned earlier, new asset classes as well, like preferred shares and secondary shares as well. So we're trying to be as international as possible and as accessible to funding for those people like you.
If I may, do you intend to promote actually SPACs being active on an international level to take the companies public on the local exchanges, or whether onshore or offshore?
The IPO fund of Abu Dhabi government will do that promotion and roadshows. And the purpose of the IPO fund is not only to take private sector companies in Abu Dhabi or in UAE or in the region. Anybody can come and use the IPO fund that are going to be listed in Abu Dhabi stock market. So it's agnostic.
Right, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen now. Now the audience will stop asking their questions, but the minute we conclude the session, they're going to come and bombard you with 55 million questions. I'm telling you, they all want to ask the questions, but it's okay, it's up to you. Okay, tell me if you managed to set up one question. So check this out. We have Zoom here and WhatsApp here, and we have we have every single tech tool. If the question is ready, they will let me know. I think they're trying to see if we have the audio.
I see some common faces of my times in
your colleagues. Do you? Do you recognize which countries do we have? I know we have a lot of countries.
from Bahrain.
Muhammad Khanji. Oh, okay, here he is. He says hello. Can we make sure the question we're gonna hear is? Will we hear it here? Because I don't know where the audio source is. Will we hear it? Okay. This is where my tech talent stops. Okay, we're gonna try and squeeze in a question. We have so many different countries and attendees. Thank you for being so patient in this hybrid event. Are we talking to Vol or to Muhammad? Vol? Okay. Vol or Muhammad, if you can hear me, we're ready to take a quick question.
Yes.
Hala, okay, go ahead. Hala Feek.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Thank you very much. Good, thank you very much.
Where are you talking to us from?
Look, I'm from Dubai.
Okay, neighbor next door. تفضل محمد.
Yeah, shukran. Look, Your Excellency, you mentioned before that the key asset of UAE strategy is diversification. My question is very simple. There are many countries without the world, especially the oil producers, that engage in this kind of diversification strategy. However, we see that UAE is really at the forefront of this development. The only one country that today matters in terms of succeeding in strategy, diversification strategy is UAE. My question is simple. How could you, what are the key drivers of this success? Is it about vision, about leadership? Is it about political stability? What makes UAE more successful than many countries in Africa and elsewhere? And thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. I think all of the above, to be honest with you. But I believe when you talk about diversification and economic diversification, you have a lot of entities that are actually needs to work with each other. Okay, I'll take example of the United Arab Emirates because we have the federal government and we have the local government. But when I'm talking about Abu Dhabi diversification, I have to work with the federal. But in Abu Dhabi, I have to work with all my other chairpersons within the other departments like the tourism, like the healthcare, like the municipality, the education. We all have to work together to change the way we actually develop our business, the way we try to attract the type of people we want to have here. It cannot be done by the Department of Economic Development only. I put things together. I'm the facilitator of moving the economy in the right direction, and I cannot do it without working with the other departments as well. So I think it is alignment, everybody aligned with one vision, and you need somebody to pull them together. And this is what actually we are moving in that direction in Abu Dhabi.
Again, you stress a lot on collaborative work and execution. Do we have time to squeeze one last one, Wahid, before we conclude? Shall we squeeze? Okay, I see Vol and I see Saeed. If you can just please tell us where you're watching us from and before you ask your question. Vol, do you want to go ahead? I know it's short for your full name probably. You're on mute, I cannot hear you. Wait until we unmute.
Can you hear me well now?
Yes, hello, we can hear you. Where are you coming from?
I'm actually from Ukraine. I'm calling from Ukraine, a bit far from Persian Gulf and the sea, but I'm very connected. Thank you, Salih, for inviting me. I'm a friend and visitor, also a member of the club and a part of OPM executive program at HBS. And I'm following very much the region and what's happening. And very excited. Your Excellency, thank you very much for this amazing presentation today. Very interesting what's happening in the region. So my question is, as we know, the biggest driver of economic growth is international trade. The modern international trade is actually e-commerce these days. So what's the plan do you have for the plan of development of e-commerce in your region to stimulate the international trade? Thank you.
Thank you, Vol, for this question. And I think Logistics and trade is an important pillar in our economic diversification. And probably you heard that we've just recently signed with Amazon Fulfillment, Amazon Shopping, to have the most technological fulfillment center in Abu Dhabi, so that we can create anchors for our e-commerce business. And when you create that, you actually develop smaller businesses and micro businesses so that they can use those fulfillment centers. There is another key anchors also we are working on. Hopefully by end of the month you will hear great news by having them here in Abu Dhabi as well. Don't forget that we have an amazing logistic system in Abu Dhabi, being 8 hours away from 70% of the population of the world. And we have an excellent seaport, KZad, and as well our aviation industry. During the COVID, Etihad Airlines have really helped a lot, not only in the humanitarian side, but also in the logistics. So I think all of these are all coming together in terms of creating an e-commerce ecosystem in Abu Dhabi.
Right, I was gonna thank you and release you. But one more for the crowd because there's a lot. So last one, خلاص حرام, last one والله أنا تعبت عنه. I'm tired on his behalf. Okay, Saeed, go ahead. Where are you coming from? Which country? Good evening. Oh, you're here, I think. أهلين.
Thank you very much. Thank you for hosting us. It's an excellent, insightful session. Quickly, there are a few things, and back to the attraction of talent to the UAE, which stands as an example in the region. And we have to congratulate the UAE for such excellent initiative. It's about 3 lines, Your Excellency, is the talent attraction and how you retain them. How do you manage to get somebody who would come from with something in his mind, will be facilitated and given a chance? And then probably his next move, maybe to find himself somewhere else. How would the government work to retain and keep such talented people with their own excellent ideas, thoughts, innovation, whatever to stay in the UAE? And two, how would you balance between bringing such excellent, highly competitive brains to compete with the national people, where we can say also the UAE, since I started my old days in the university, I've seen excellent colleagues, absolutely, smart, shrewd, and an excellent national of the UAE. Of course, that on one hand will raise the bar of competition and will produce excellent leaders, and on the other hand, it may give a less chance for others to go up. Right now, the balance between attraction, retention, and nationalism and internationalism in the UAE. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And by the way, in Harvard, most of the group that was in the last senior executive leadership came from the UAE, and they are all local and international. About maybe 40–50% of the entire group came from the UAE. This is another, sort of proof of what Your Excellency mentioned earlier. Thank you. Thank you.
That tells you a lot about the talents in UAE. So I'm glad that we've seen that in Harvard. When you're a venture capitalist, when you invest in 10 companies and you hope that 1 or 2 would succeed. And this is the same idea. Yes, as you put it very nicely, some people will come here, they will take the support, they will not succeed, they'll take their baggage and go somewhere else. That's, again, part and parcel of life. But the position of the Abu Dhabi government is I have to create the right environment for those people to grow. And if I'm doing something wrong, all of them are going to fail. So if I'm doing something right, some of them are going to succeed and some of them are going to fail. And that's, again, part and parcel of life. The balance between national and non-nationals in terms of the talents that are available, again, it's an open market. We've seen some countries that they have quotas. Is it working? Is it not? That's something else that we can talk about. But I believe the UAE has a lot of strong talent. UAE nationals, the government is spending a lot of money on them to increase their knowledge, their education, and at the same time, we have to continue attracting non-nationals because we don't have those talents here. Again, yes, we are a 10 million population in the United Arab Emirates, but at the end of the day, we need to feel that we are all one here. So yes, I have to support nationals and non-nationals at the same time.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand, of course. Your Excellency, you've been more than generous with your time. خلاص راح أصدق يعني عيب يعني. This was the last question. Thank you so much for all the HBS community. Thank you for joining us online. I don't know how many, so many different countries. It's brilliant to see all of your faces in this hybrid event. I will remind you of the next upcoming 2 events, and hopefully all of the remaining ones, inshallah, will be face to face and no more virtual, but that's just me wishing. The next one is soon. It's next Monday on January 17th. This one will focus more on Dubai as the global hub and of course Expo 2020. It will discuss business acceleration initiatives that will drive Dubai's competitiveness. This will be with His Excellency Hilal Saeed Al-Mari, who's the Director General of the Department of Economy and Tourism. And the one right after that will be on 27th, January 27th, with Her Excellency Mariam bin Mohamed Al-Meheri, Minister of Climate Change. The title will be more focused on sustainability and the integrated approach and the growth of that sector in the United Arab Emirates. I'm Jessie Al-Mur. It was my pleasure to be with you today and to be present with such brilliant minds across sectors from across the region. Again, thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you, HBS. Thank you, Salah. And hopefully I'll see you in the next upcoming events. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
That brings our Zoom events to an end.